Welcome to Linguatoons, where learning English becomes part of everyday life. Today, you'll follow Emily, Jack, and their cat Chooper on a real-life adventure in the park. Through simple storytelling, you'll discover natural vocabulary, useful expressions, and the rhythms of real English. Let's begin this journey together. Emily and Jack had been looking forward to their day off all week. The city felt noisy and busy as usual, so they decided to spend a peaceful day in one of the large parks on the outskirts of town. That morning, the sun was shining brightly in the clear blue sky. It was early enough that the streets weren't too crowded yet. Jack rode his motorcycle through narrow streets to Emily's house. He loved these quiet hours of the day, when the city felt almost calm. Emily was already packing when Jack arrived. She had prepared a careful list the night before to make sure they wouldn't forget anything. They loaded everything onto the motorcycle. A large picnic blanket rolled up tightly, a small pop-up tent for shade, baskets of food, cold drinks in a thermal bag, and, of course, Chooper's soft-sided pet carrier. Chooper, their small gray cat with curious green eyes, was alert but calm. He enjoyed travel, and he seemed fascinated by the process of being packed into the special carrier with little mesh windows. Once everything was secured, they set off. The motorcycle rumbled softly over the city streets. Emily sat behind Jack, one arm holding the pet carrier against her side, the other gripping Jack's waist. The wind blew gently in their faces, carrying scents of warm asphalt, blooming flowers, and the distant aroma of bakeries opening for the day. As they left the urban center, the scenery changed. Apartment buildings gave way to smaller houses, then to long stretches of trees and grassy lots. The road curved lazily toward the park entrance. Sunlight filtered through tall trees, casting dappled shadows on the road. Birds chirped from high branches, and the sound of insects buzzed in the warmth. When they arrived at the park, they found the main entrance busy with families and couples. There were paths leading in different directions, lined with wooden signs. One pointed toward the lake, another to a playground, another to a wooded area with walking trails. Rode the motorcycle to the designated parking area and unpacked carefully. Emily tucked Chooper's carrier in one hand and a basket in the other. Jack swung the large backpack over his shoulders, balancing the rolled-up blanket in the tent. They walked slowly along a gravel path into the park. The morning sun was already warm, but the trees offered generous shade. They passed by open grassy fields where children were playing with balls and kites. To one side, a small pond reflected the clear sky. Ducks swam lazily, and park visitors sat on benches tossing crumbs. They continued deeper into the park to avoid the busiest areas. The path narrowed and curved gently through denser greenery. On either side, Bushes bloomed with small, fragrant flowers. Bees hovered lazily from blossom to blossom. Finally, they reached a large clearing with soft grass and several big old trees that spread broad leafy branches overhead. It felt quiet, calm, and private compared to the noisy playground and picnic tables closer to the entrance. The breeze moved gently through the leaves, creating a soft rustling sound that was instantly relaxing. Emily and Jack chose a spot beneath the biggest tree, where the shade was deep and cool. From here, they could see a small footbridge crossing a creek in the distance, and even hear the faint sound of water trickling over rocks. A few people were walking dogs on a trail nearby, but it wasn't crowded. They spread the large blanket carefully on the grass, making sure no roots or rocks would poke through. Then they set up the small tent just big enough for them to sit inside if it got too sunny. The tent was easy to assemble, with lightweight poles and a breathable fabric that let in the breeze while blocking direct sun. Chooper watched all of this from his carrier, blinking slowly in delight. Once the tent was ready, Emily unzipped the carrier and let him explore a little. He stretched, sniffed the grass, and then wandered into the tent, where he settled on the folded blanket inside. Jack unpacked the food, sandwiches carefully wrapped in paper, fresh fruit, a small container of salad, and drinks kept cool in the thermal bath. They arranged everything on the blanket, creating a colorful and inviting picnic spread. They began to eat slowly, enjoying the taste of fresh bread and ripe fruit. The wind picked up gently at times, rustling the tent fabric and carrying scents of grass and flowers. Birds chirped above them, and occasionally a breeze would send a shower of tiny blossoms drifting down. Chooper, satisfied and sleepy, curled up inside the tent and fell asleep. His small body rose and fell with each breath, and his ears twitched at distant sounds, but he was completely at peace. Emily and Jack relaxed, talking quietly and watching the clouds drift overhead in lazy patterns. But then, the calm was suddenly shattered. A sharp, loud bark rang out nearby. A large dog, chasing a bright red bull, ran too close to their campsite. The dog's excitement and barking startled Chooper awake. Terrified, Chooper leaped to his feet, darted out of the tent like a streak of gray lightning, and ran straight into the bushes beyond the clearing. Emily and Jack reacted instantly, grabbing their things in a rush. They tried to keep calm but felt their hearts racing. The park suddenly seemed huge and complicated, full of paths and hiding places. They started searching immediately, scanning the grass and checking behind bushes and tree trunks. They walked along the main paths and the smaller side trails, calling his name and looking for movement. In the tall grass, they passed the footbridge and the creek, checking both banks carefully. They noticed benches with older visitors who shook their heads when asked. At one point, they passed the playground, was bright slides and swings squeaking as children played, but no sign of Chooper. They asked people for help, describing Chooper carefully. A small gray cat with green eyes, very fast and very scared. A couple sitting on a bench mentioned they had seen something run toward the rose garden area. They followed those directions carefully. The rose garden was a beautifully maintained corner of the park, with manicured bushes and winding paths lined with flowering plants. It was also full of places for a small cat to hide. They searched every corner, checking behind flower beds and inside bushes. The smell of roses was strong in the air, and bees buzzed lazily, unaware of the frantic search. Finally, near a dense bush beside a low hedge, they heard a soft, frightened meow. Emily held her breath and bent down slowly. Chooper was there, crouched low, eyes wide with fear but too tired to run further. She reached in carefully, picked him up, and held him close. His fur was full of bits of grass and leaves, but he started to calm down immediately in her arms. They returned slowly to their picnic spot. Feeling exhausted but relieved, Chooper was put securely back in his carrier, where he curled up tightly, watching them through the mesh but no longer trying to escape. They sat back on the blanket and finished their drinks quietly. The breeze continued to blow gently, and the sun moved lower in the sky, casting longer shadows across the grass. Even though their perfect picnic had turned into an unexpected adventure, they felt grateful to have found Chooper safe. The park felt peaceful again, and they promised themselves they would be even more careful next time. Thank you for joining us here on Linguatoons. Real-life stories help you learn English naturally, with words and phrases you can truly use. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss a new episode. Keep learning with us, and make English part of your story every day.